So basically, I grew up in a, loving home. We went to church occasionally, but it wasn't really a big part of my life. I played baseball my whole life, and that has always been pretty much number one.
Well, I grew up in Acworth, Georgia, and a family. My dad was a drunk. He grew up just drinking all the time. My family fought every day. There was basically tension throughout the house, and growing up, that's not what you want to go through.
When I got into high school, I started getting into some bad things, just hanging out with the wrong crowd.
What I believed was I had to have the last say, and everything that was going through my head was completely right. I would get into fights. I was into drugs. I wasn't heavy into them, but I was into them. The people that I hung out with were into them. Just everything just seemed, at the time, was heading right and was heading the right way, but at the same time, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I felt empty. I would go out and do stuff, and then I would come home and I would just feel like nothing.
My sophomore year, I was introduced to a kid that attended the First Baptist Church of Woodstock, and he kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me to come to Wednesday night. So finally, it was in November that I finally gave in to come. Like that night, just God shook me. God spoke straight to me, and it was that night that I got saved. And I knew that a change needed to happen in my life because I definitely wasn't living for Christ.
And my friend Zach Taylor invited me. He probably invited me for about 4 months before I ever came. I just felt like it wasn't where I needed to be, that church can't help me. And that's just like a cliche thing to say, but you felt like you were on your own and everything was just for you. I went to Freedom Night with Clayton King, and he preached about how there's 3 ways to believe in God, and I just felt like that message spoke into my life so clearly, and it just showed me that I don't have to go through everything alone, and that God sent Jesus for me, and it just opened my eyes to everything that the world, like my whole view on the world is just different.
After I started attending church, I was still a baby Christian, and I didn't really know a lot of the things. Like I didn't really understand Christianity, and so I started hanging out with a couple kids that went here, and that was the big key in my life, and that was a big key in totally just changing it.
I knew in my heart that night that Jesus was laid on the cross for me, and God loved me, and that night I accepted Christ as my Savior, and since then my whole life has been completely changed.
So I've been saved for about 2 years now, but it's really been in the past year now that my relationship with Christ has grown. I started getting more involved and started getting more friends at the church, and I'm in a mentoring group, which has done huge things for my life. And just my walk with Christ has grown so much.
We're all hypocrites, and that's something I face. That's something I deal with, is being a hypocrite for what I say. And it's just hard to do all that stuff, but because of our grace from God, that we can be a hypocrite and stuff, and you don't want to be, but at the end of the day, the grace given from God is just all we need, and that's just amazing.
So as of last year, I made it a challenge to just try to get Christ more involved with our baseball team, and so I would try to, before games, say a little special prayer, and just try to, take some of the guys aside and just, tell them what God's done in my life. And it definitely hasn't been easy because, those are the kids that I've grown up with, and I mean, they've been with me before Christ and then now. And so it's definitely not easy trying to tell them about the thing that means the most in your life. But after you tell them, it's a great feeling.